This is the Great Alaska Hunting Podcast. I'm Dalton Gray.
And I'm Moriah Humphries.
Broadcasting from our hometown of Fairbanks, Alaska. This show is brought to you by Stealthy Hunter. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Great Alaska Hunting Podcast, everybody. I'm Dalton.
I'm Mo.
Good to see everybody again.
Yeah.
Nice to be back on the air.
Do you know how this works?
Well, we're not exactly live.
No.
I just got that question from somebody.
We'll
Are
be
you guys
live.
going to be live?
A week from now?
Yeah, March 3rd this one airs. Today is nationally recognized by Alaska as Disappointment Day.
For some it's excitement. For some it's, oh my, can I afford that?
Yeah, so today the Alaska draw hunt results came out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm over.
Me too.
My wife went over, and most of the people that I typed in out of curiosity went over.
Did you check out old Steve Ranella? I usually look him up. I only looked myself up this year because I was busy.
I didn't look him up.
Okay,
No.
usually he wins something.
Yeah.
Because he puts in for so much.
I could find out.
Yeah, we can find out right now.
This will be kind of a gap in the airtime.
Right? Yeah.
I
we keep talking.
I mean, surprisingly enough, it's already still pulled up.
Surprisingly, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I searched probably a good 20 names. You know, a lot of friends and family and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it's always an opportunity to get into a few cool things for draw hunts up here that aren't over the counter. Nope. Old Man Ranella went over as well.
Well,
I say Old Man Ranella. I don't know. I heard somebody call him that one time. I thought it was funny. Has a nice ring to it. Well, the good thing is that most of the things that we like to do anyhow is over-the-counter stuff.
yeah.
That's mostly because we've never drawn anything.
Yeah, you know, the one hunt I really, really wanted to put in for this year, I didn't because it was time conflicting.
Okay.
And
Do you want to say it on the air or no?
I don't know.
Don't make it too high of a numbers increase for next year.
I think I could have got it too. But
Okay.
look, I've been studying draw odds. You saw that screenshot I sent you when you asked me a question about something.
Yeah.
And I've been using that new functionality of that app. It's pretty sweet.
I know which one you're talking about there.
They've made it. I mean, it is much, much better. Yeah.
Big improvements.
It's super nice.
Gotta love that AI.
It's not even what it is. It's just numbers. But
The robots scare me.
I didn't put in for it. And by the math, I looked at it and like, if I'd put all 6,
Do you want to say the species?
it's sheep. I mean, okay. If I'd done all 6, I by the math, I had a really good chance
Sure.
and a very high chance of getting it. And I think I would have been successful. But that's
Another year.
Too much going on that month this year,
Yep. Oh, well.
I suppose.
There's always next year.
Guess I'll just have to fly somewhere.
Yep. Just grow wings.
Yeah. Just have to buy more equipment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's... I mean, you have to have all the best equipment to hunt anything up here.
I probably need a new rifle.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yep.
New caliber.
Yeah.
Yep.
Something different. Yeah. I mean, you just totally want to switch everything up every year. You got to buy a new pack.
New pack, new tent. Well, I don't have a tent, so that... So, on that, have you, just for a little tangent, you know, since we're not really in any discussion yet, have you looked at any of the Alps tents?
Alps.
The same company that made that Alps Mountaineering, the tarp I have.
No, I have not.
So they have a single person tent that looks really intriguing, and it's like $150.
Really?
Or $180 or something like that. And it was half off on Camel Fire the other day, and I almost bought it just because it was like $80.
Huh.
But I didn't, and I kind of regret it because I had the money and I had plenty of money to do it with, and I just didn't because I wasn't sure, and I was looking it up, and everybody I saw that had it really liked it, and it's like 2.5, 3 pounds. And
So is it freestanding?
Yeah, freestanding.
Really?
And it's 2 parts. The inner is mostly just mesh. But,
Yeah, sure.
But still, like seems for the price, and it's pretty lightweight. And
Huh. I wonder if it's similar to another.
so buy an $80 tent so I can buy a $300 tripod.
That's, yeah.
Or $160.
Isn't that what the kids call girl math these days?
No. I'm not trying to save money. I'm saving weight.
I have heard that term way too much lately.
Yeah, it's one of fad terms. I don't like fad terms.
Oh, come on.
You don't either.
Is it a one-man tent?
Yeah. They have two, I think, and it was one. I don't remember which one it was. No, I don't believe it was that one. It was, I think maybe it was.
This one here?
Yeah, the
Lynx?
Was it the Lynx? No, because you can't, you entered from the end of it.
Oh. Interesting. I mean, there's a Stone Glacier one that enters from the end.
That's the Lynx. No, it's that one right there, the Zephyr.
Oh, okay. Zephyr.
I mean, the way it's built looks...
$150.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good when it's all set up, but
I know.
I wonder how quick it goes flat in the wind.
And that's...
yeah.
It's... I mean, yeah.
It'll work right up until it doesn't.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, if I can make that tarp work as well...
I was just going to say, and at that point, you just prop a trekking pole up inside of it and make do.
Exactly. There's something to be said for trekking poles, or, we've talked about how much we don't like the screw-off legs on tripods.
Oh, I hate them.
We've talked about it on here or not.
Stand them.
I think the idea is dumb. Like, you need trekking poles and you need a tripod. You don't need something that does both. I haven't used a Spartan tripod that's $1,000 to test them. I'm sure, just because they have a good reputation, that it does everything it's supposed to do. But something like, I don't know, not a lot of other companies have done it, but Peak 44 did it. Mm-hmm. And you had an issue with yours in the field, fell apart on you.
Yep.
I haven't had mine fall apart, but using those legs for trekking poles, stupid. They're not worth it. They're not built for it. You're going to break them. And then you won't have a tripod or trekking poles. But you know what they were really, really good for was propping up the inside of that tent against the wind. Because I already had my two trekking poles holding up the corners. So I needed something else to push the sides out when they were caving in from the ice built up.
Yep. I have used trekking poles when I was running that MSR two-man tent.
Yeah.
With the hubba. Yeah. And that one has that little short cross pole over the top.
Yep.
Because you have the two that are in an X corners, and then you have one over the top, and it kind of props out the vestibule on both sides, which is a really nice feature, having double vestibule.
Yeah.
You got a lot of room for gear underneath that thing, underneath the rainfly. But in heavy wind, if the wind direction changes, because you try to pitch it in such a way that your toe into the wind or head into the wind. I prefer toe into. I prefer toe into the wind because then the tent's not on your face in the middle of the night in an ideal world.
Right.
But I've had situations like what you said where the wind changes in the middle of the night and you wake up and the side of the tent is coming in on you.
Right.
And so right at the end of that little cross pole, I'll just zip open the inside, stick a trekking pole underneath, right underneath that pole pocket, right at the end there. Go up as high and tight as I can. Obviously, you have to have it guide out really well.
Right.
But prop that up into the wind, and man, that's.
What does that tent weigh?
I think I think somewhere around 4.5 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a lot of room for that weight. I think anyway. It's.
I mean, compared to something like the.
I believe it's lighter than the Hilleberg one-man.
The Hilleberg one-mans are over 5.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, they're awesome, but it's hard when you're running solo.
Yep.
When you're actually running solo without somebody else, like weight is such a bigger factor.
Yes.
And especially if you have to carry water or something.
Yeah.
And that's where I am on my setup. Is like, well, it's great if I can take if I'm going with somebody, that's great, and then we can figure out what we're going to lighten up. But if I'm not, most likely, just because of the way I hunt in general, I'm probably going to be doing stuff solo, and I want my setup to work that way.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm looking at. I mean, hey, if that Alps tent, like, if it's anything like the tarp, it's worth every penny.
Yeah. You're probably not going to find anything for a better price.
Well, and if I see it on Camel Fire again, I'll probably buy it just to try it, even if I never take it into the mountains.
Yeah. Give it a shot.
Buy it, set it up, and spray it with a garden hose at full blast and see what happens.
Right.
Set up a big fan and
yeah, go get some of those big blue fans.
Yeah.
Set up about 6 of those right in front of it. Borrow some from work.
Yeah, there you go. Or just take it into work one day.
Put us.
Boss comes by. What are you doing? Testing the equipment.
I'm still on my lunch break.
Yeah.
Give me a little time. Yeah. Put a sprinkler right in front of the fans.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Drive that
And then
water
just
into
fill
it.
the tent up with like paper towels so that if any water gets in, you know it.
No, the real test is then to sleep in it that night.
Right.
Right. While all that's happening.
Yeah.
Because, see, that tarp stayed dry in there. Aside from condensation,
Yeah.
that was impressive for that tarp to handle what it did.
And you didn't have hardly any or very few pinholes from like the ice and jagged edges
No,
and
if
stuff
there was
like
any
that.
pinholes, it was from rocks on the corners. So.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, but that's to
But
be
that'll
expected,
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I don't know. A tent is something I need, and I'm probably going to lighten up my tripod, try to balance that out a little because my tripod's like 3 pounds.
Yeah.
Which, if I was carrying a huge spotter, I guess that'd be good. But I'm trying to go lightweight on that too. So.
Yeah, trying to keep your tripod matched with the size of your glass is important. If you've got a big 80 mil spotter, then you need something stout enough to support it.
And that one will do fine with that.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yep, absolutely. When it's not broken.
right. And so far, mine's been great.
Stupid idea. I shouldn't say that. It's not a stupid idea. It's an okay idea on paper, but it's one of those things, just like when you see a nice feature on a car and you realize somebody made this in a controlled environment lab and the engineer was not the mechanic.
Trying to replace the oil sending sensor on the back of the engine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a nice spot when it's out of the car.
Right.
They're like, oh yeah, let's
when
just
that plastic shroud isn't there with all those hoses going through it that I can't undo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's just put this sending unit back here out of the way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's one of those things that I think it like I said, like with the Spartan, I don't see a reason why they wouldn't work fine.
Yeah. You know, I've heard a few things now that you mentioned that Spartan does that. I'd forgotten that they make one like that. If anybody can pull off a gadget type of modification to a tripod system,
it's kind of all gadgets.
Yeah. But Spartan and then Really Right Stuff. Now I don't know if Really Right Stuff has a tripod with detachable legs like that with that idea in mind, but those two companies are known in the tripod world as making
But with
excellent
Spartan, you're
products.
looking at a 4 to 5 pound tripod.
Yeah, it is heavy.
And it's tall, and they show, and they're one of their demonstrations is to repel off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you can repel off of it, I'm sure those legs are fine as, right? And then they even sell the screw on top for your handles when you're using as trekking poles and everything.
Yep.
But the problem with the Peak 44 one is that it's the idea should work in theory. It just isn't well applied in the product that they sell.
Yeah, it just didn't quite come together right. But, otherwise, it would have been a fine tripod.
Free review there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to dog on it, but,
So, like, yours broke.
Yeah.
And because of that, I took mine on my next hunt. I beat the crap out of it.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see how it did, and it's still holding strong. No issues. And I'm going to keep using it in the applications I can.
Mine very well could have been a one-off.
Yeah.
And
being the issue what it was, which was the aluminum piece slipping out of the carbon fiber tube, that seems like a one-off situation. Like they didn't get the glue on there right or it didn't cure properly.
Sure.
But in the various things we tried for glue, didn't work.
No, dude, we tried a lot of stuff.
We did. None of it was the right thing, for sure.
No, but when you're sitting out a rainstorm underneath a tarp or in your tent, and we're like, all right, let's see if we can jerry-rig this tripod together. Let's try some glue. Oh, well, didn't work, doesn't matter. Well, now that draw day is over, we've gotten a bunch of questions from people in the last few weeks that we have. I've gotten a few. I know you've gotten a few.
Yeah.
And we've been asked to talk about something. So this one's a little bit different format. This is more of a Q&A, which we haven't done a whole lot of. We do enjoy the interaction from people. We appreciate people messaging in with questions about things that we're doing or why we're doing it this way. And got some feedback about the Bullets podcast and the cartridge one before that. People with questions and, how big of a gun do I need to hunt in Alaska type stuff. And all things that were really kind of addressed in those episodes. That was part of the reasoning for doing those. Aside from just, we like talking about that kind of stuff. One question that we got that we figured would kind of be a discussion today that you and I have talked about on and off for a while and that a number of listeners have asked questions about is our choice in cartridges.
Yeah.
In particular, the rifle make and model that we have that's the same, but in a different cartridge. And kind of why we're both partial to that, what we've done with them, what's our experience, and would we change anything? So go ahead and show the folks your object there. Speaking of Spartan,
that's the one Spartan thing. I've got a few other little adapters for other things too, but it makes me want to own more of their stuff. I just can't afford to. When their tripod costs what a spotting scope can.
Yeah. For the purposes of YouTube, go ahead and open the bolt and show us that gun's clear.
There you go.
So tell us what you got there, Mo.
All right, this is a Tikka T3X. I don't know what year it was made. It's one of the kind of newer, but not too new.
I believe that one was purchased in 2020 or 2021.
Yeah, so
that time frame.
Before they started making the barrel rifle twists what they should be.
Yeah.
So it's a 1-in-11 twist, 300 Winchester Short Mag, and pretty much stock. I haven't changed hardly anything on it. I added the Spartan adapter on there. I think this came with it, the bear tooth, little cheek riser there, and it still has a Tikka butt pad on it. Mm-hmm. I haven't changed anything really.
Yeah. And what's your glass?
That is a Leupold VX3. What is that? The 3.5 to 10?
Yeah.
Yep, 3.5 to 10 by 44.
That's the HD model.
Yeah, VX3. Did I not say HD? VX3 HD with the CDS ZL locking turret.
Yep.
Which is great until you need to go backwards.
Right. Did I see something that Leupold came out with a scope now that you can dial down with?
I think they're
past your zero.
Their new VX6, was it?
I believe so.
I haven't looked at it a ton, but maybe.
I haven't seen a whole lot about it. I saw it when they released it. I looked at a few things, and I've already forgotten. But I believe that was one of the features of it. But, so yeah, regular old off-the-shelf stainless T3X stainless light.
Yeah. Do they even make these anymore? I mean, they make so many other fancy models now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. This is the gun. Everything else Tikka makes as far as like the rough tech.
Yeah, well, they just announced like 3 new. Was that the ones, the rough techs?
The rough techs have been around for a couple of years.
They just announced at SHOT Show like 3 new models or something like that.
I haven't seen all those yet then. The rough tech line, and I've heard a bunch of people talking about Tikkas, and you know that it's a very popular rifle brand.
Yeah, becoming more so.
Yeah, well, for the last number of years anyway, I've seen and heard a whole lot about Tikkas. And tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like the Tikka rifle, for all intents and purposes, relatively speaking, is the Remington 700 of right now. As far as the off-the-shelf, common,
thought about that
easy go-to hunting rifle that's under $1,000 that you can buy at the store and that you know it's going to shoot.
I hadn't thought about that in that context, but yeah, I mean the Remington 700 now is not what it was.
No.
It's a whole different thing. You buy a Remington 700 Action, probably not even made by Remington these days.
I'm not sure. There's been a whole lot of change.
But you know what I mean. I mean, there's so many. Like, I don't mean that you're buying a Remington rifle,
right?
That's not made by Remington. I mean, so many people who are going with that Action are going with something custom because they can, and why wouldn't you?
Right. The Remington 700 is the most copied idea of an Action.
Well, and there's a reason for it. Yeah. But I think so. I mean, it's for the cost to accuracy. And it's like, what, 6.5 pounds? 6.7 pounds, I think, is what this rifle is without the glass.
Yeah.
Which for the price is hard to beat.
Yeah, it's excellent. Now, with that are some things that you're not getting if you were to spend a little bit more money on the rifle, right? Like the stock is, I don't know if this will come through on the broadcast, but it is plastic stock.
Yep.
Right?
It's one of the nicer plastic stocks on the market.
But something that they did change is in the T3X models from the old T3 models, which was what my first rifle was a 30-06 T3. They put a foam filler in the X stocks, so it's not quite as hollow thump sounding. And they added a little bit of little more of a modular option for this. So the T3X has a removable and changeable grip and a forend that you can attach to it. It's a little bit wider if you prefer that. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit later with the other rifle that we have here to talk about. And I believe that another change of the X was putting an aluminum bolt shroud on there instead of the old plastic one that was on the T3s.
This is the only Tikka I've owned. Now, didn't you have a T3X Lite at one point?
I did, in 7 Rem Mag.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, I shot that once.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, shot great.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, excellent shooting gun. That one actually had a muzzle brake on it.
Half-inch gun all day.
Yeah. Half-inch gun all day long. Yeah. But anyway, so this is something that's not really even related to what the main point of the conversation is today, but it's worth noting. It seems like most people that I run into that are either new hunters or intermediate hunters have had at some point a Tikka.
Yeah.
And even a lot of guys that I know that are big-time hardcore hunters, if we can use that term without being too gimmicky, hardcore, they have Tikkas and use them as well.
Yeah.
Reason being is they tend to shoot well from the box.
Yep.
They don't require any aftermarket work to make them shoot well in general, right? Obviously, with any mass-produced factory rifle, you're going to have some issues here and there.
Right.
That'll happen. But Tikka has a reputation for good quality control, good customer service. I do know one individual that has a 300 Win Mag that when they first got it, they had some problems with every so often the gun would misfire. And it wasn't the ammunition, because we had another Tikka 300 Win Mag that we tried the same ammo out of that wouldn't go off in his rifle, and it would go off in the other. So we established that it wasn't the ammunition. So he sent in the bolt to Tikka. They said, send us the bolt. And they sent it back to him. They said it was an issue with the firing pin spring. Sent it back, never had an issue since. But that guy has 300 Win Mag, 30-06, and a 270, and no, he doesn't have a 6.5 Creedmoor. Somebody else I know does. But so that guy has 300 Win Mag, 30-06, and 270 in Tikka. And he loves them. And he only ever hunts with Tikka rifles because they're affordable. They're under $1,000. I know at the time that this one was bought, because this one I originally bought, and then I wanted to move to a Win Mag.
Yep.
For whatever reason.
Or you just bought the Win Mag and decided you didn't need both or something.
Right. Yeah, I don't think there was much of a reason for it besides I just wanted it.
You used to buy and sell a lot of guns.
I did. I've reformed my ways a lot since then. But this was a number of years ago. But I think when I bought this one, and even when I bought the Win Mag, this rifle, even the Super Light, were between $750 and $850 at the store. You're not going to get much better of a rifle for that price anywhere if you can.
Yeah, and most of the time you're going to spend that comparable price on something from another company that's not what this rifle. It might look nicer.
Yeah.
But
well, and so that's worth pointing out, is even a gun that's, let's just say, a little bit more expensive than this, between $1,200 and $1,500. A lot of times, $1,200 doesn't buy you a carbon fiber stock.
Or a carbon fiber barrel.
Right. And so you're not really getting much outside of cost of production and a different finish. So they might Cerakote it for $1,200 to $1,500 on a factory gun. It might have a nicer stock, maybe, but it's probably still plastic. It just has a nicer paint job on it.
Yeah.
Now, the bottom metal on most other guns, is in fact bottom metal. The bottom metal on Tikkas from the factory, at least in these models, is plastic, which is something that you can change out easily if you want to. But I've never had an issue with them, and I don't know anybody that's ever had an issue with the plastic bottom.
I've never had an issue with it. I've thought about swapping it out, but then every time I think about it,
right, it works.
Yeah, and I've even thought the one thing I want to change probably is the grip on here, because I do like that more vertical grip, but I just haven't got around to it.
Yeah, it's super easy and super cheap.
I haven't got around to it.
Yeah.
And it works great the way it is. And, and there is something cool about carrying a bone stock Tikka through the woods,
Your animals are just as dead as anybody else's.
They are.
That's the reality of it. But super smooth action. That's one of the things with Tikkas that everybody remarks on is, man, it's hard to get a smoother action without going up significantly in price. Right. And it's not a 90-degree bolt throw.
It's 60, isn't it?
I don't think it's quite 60, is it?
For some reason I want to say Tikka really was 60, but maybe I'm wrong.
I'd have to look that up. You say something while I'm doing this.
All right. Oh, you were talking about what people use, hunters, hunters who have much time. Most of them have at least either do or at least at one time have owned a Tikka just because it's an easy price point to get in and get something good.
Right.
And I said the number one, whenever I'm talking to somebody who wants to buy a rifle and they're always like, oh, I can't afford to buy a rifle. How much? Well, that's like $3,000. And you're like, well, no, go buy a Tikka and this scope rifle combo is like, whatever caliber, like it's like a $500 scope.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's probably not an $800 gun anymore. It's probably a little bit more, $900.
I think they're still landing around $800.
If you can find this, because they're doing more models, it's sometimes a little bit harder to find a stock one at the store.
We've mentioned this enough that I'm curious now what they're going for. And by the way, it is a 70-degree bolt.
It's 70. Okay, that makes
70.
sense. I thought it was a round number. I just couldn't remember what it was. That makes sense.
But still a lot nicer, at least in my opinion, than having a bolt that comes all the way up to here, right up next to your scope.
Right. Well, and I think the new Seekins is a 60, isn't it? I think that's what it is.
I heard it was shorter, but I don't remember exactly.
I believe it's 60. Because Weatherby's like, what, a 54?
54 on the Mark 5s, yeah. Which is, I think, still the shortest in the industry.
Probably.
For a bolt throw. I mean, it feels like it's just straight out. It's very, very short. But yeah, I mean, it's a reliable gun. It shoots well, and the price point, and like you said, like to buy this package at the store is $800, let's say. Was a $500 scope, so you're looking at $1,300.
Right. Well, and I mean, this is just an old leather thing with a knife that fell out in the alders.
Right.
But I mean, and then if you want a nice bipod like this, you don't need it. But if you wanted the fancier, quick attach, super light bipod, like that's another $200.
Mm-hmm.
So $1,500.
Right.
If you can find everything for that price.
So. Eurooptic.com.
Yeah.
Tikka T3X Light, 300 short mag, stainless steel synthetic, $800.
Wow. It's pretty good.
That is marked down from $879.
Okay.
So yeah, a little closer to $900,
but under $1,500.
Right. Still sub $1,500.
Well, and so you got what, $100 in rings on there?
50 for tallies. Yeah.
Or is those 50?
Yeah.
Okay. So under 100, 50-ish. Under $1,500, easy.
All set
if
up.
You're not counting the bipod, right? And you can buy a cheaper bipod, and there's so many different kinds of bipods that people like. Like, I think that thing's great, but if you're a precision shooter, then those guys have all their fancy.
Oh yeah.
The way they fold and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. But for a basic bare bones hunting rig, to buy stuff at a store and then order a couple things online, this is a really good way to go. And with a scope, for the value, I don't know that you can beat a VX3 HD.
I don't think so.
You have a zero locking turret that you can spin up to, I'm not even sure.
I think it's almost 14.
I'm going to check what this one maxes at because it's been a while. So that's 12. And then there's 13. 14.
So it's
14.25 minute of angle on your dial. And so that gets you a long ways with a cartridge like this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure most cartridges that would get you out well past normal hunting ranges.
With that scope and with my load, my phone's on the recording this video right now. I'd look at the numbers because it'd be cool to pull up. But
yeah,
I think I'm close to 700 yards.
Yeah.
With dialing, and that's just a standard duplex reticle.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Which is, again, for most purposes.
Yeah, that's much further than you'd ever need.
I know we like to talk about...
Oh, it's so fun to run the numbers on what your load can do.
Yeah. How far is this effective at? How far can I dial to? And could I make a 1,000-yard shot? Or could I make a 700-yard shot? Well, in reality...
If it's the last day of the hunt and the trophy bowl is there and you've checked everything,
Mm-hmm.
and you've known that if the moose walks out, I had one spot like this a couple years ago
Mm-hmm.
where I was sitting there and I could see this pond and a bank on the back, and I had dialed and I had the numbers. I'd looked through the scope, everything. Like, well, if something stands there perfectly broadside and there's no wind,
Yeah.
I think I would be able to take the shot, but I won't take it unless I'm 100% confident.
How far was that?
I don't know if I even want to say.
I remember you texting me while you were sitting there, and I thought, boy, I know where that's at. We've been in there before.
And it was, I don't remember
And
precisely.
there's not
I
a
think it
four-wheeler
was,
trail all the way to that pond either.
there's old stuff in there. I could have made something close.
Yeah, yeah.
It wouldn't have been that big of a deal.
I would have come over and we would have started doing some chainsaw work. Is what we would have
Yeah,
been
well,
doing.
it's all little tiny trees and
Yeah.
black spruce or whatever.
Run them over.
And it's in a logging area, so nobody's
Right.
going to care.
Right.
But
Was that over 800 yards?
I think it was right around 8.
Yeah.
8 or a little more.
Yeah, I thought it was right around there. Long poke.
It would have been a long poke. And
But when you're moose hunting, where we were moose hunting that year,
in as many mooses I'd seen,
yeah, you shoot what you can get.
yeah, and if I had done it, it'd probably be the only time I'd do it. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It was that I've never been in a situation like that ever before or since where I had everything calculated and planned for that shot in that spot.
Right.
But that time I did.
Yeah.
And hey, it's a $1,500 rifle, and as long as the shooters can handle it,
Yeah.
it is capable. It is completely capable of that.
So anyway, we
Not that you should ever do that.
Right. We're not condoning taking 800-yard shots at moose. Although some guys like to do that kind of stuff. That's fine. Whatever.
And hey, I got a 375 now. If I can set that thing up, that's I don't know. To me, that's just much more. Even at 400 yards, which to me is fully applicable distance for a moose.
Yeah.
Especially if you've shot your rifle at that distance. I've shot a moose at this at 400 yards. Easy.
Yeah.
It just after running
400
everything-
yards doesn't even seem like that long of a shot anymore.
No, I've killed several animals at
Yeah.
around that distance now, and it's like,
Yeah.
especially if you can lay down and use a bipod.
Yeah. You and my brother and I shot 3 caribou at the same time out of the same group at, what was that, 430 yards?
Something like that.
And it didn't even seem hard.
Yeah. I shot a wolf with this.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there was one when you were there around 2.
Yep.
I was off of a nice bench.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way to do it. But then I shot
And
one.
people say that you're not going to be shooting off a bench when you're
I know,
hunting.
yeah. And then I shot one in the same area. I think it was the year previous, but I shot that one kneeling. I may have had like a single stick or a double stick.
I
but
thought you had that single stick.
close to freehand,
Right.
Single stick to freehand. There's not much of a difference. In kneeling in the grass at 320,
Yeah.
and that was with that old Redfield scope.
Yep.
And
That was before you even had the loophole.
smacked that wolf. That was my first long shot at an animal.
Right in the face.
Yeah, and that, I mean, it blew my mind how easy it was
Right.
when you know everything right, and you're not just pulling a box out of the ammo can that says hunting on it and saying 300 yards,
This ought to work.
20-inch drop. All right, whatever.
Yeah. There's plenty of guys that kill animals like that.
There are.
It's just funny.
And most of those guys aren't trying to shoot a wolf at 300 yards either,
Yeah.
or whatever they're trying to shoot at 300 yards. But when you actually know the numbers, anyway, that's
Wolves
another
are-
tangent. But
Wolves are the one animal that I don't really care how fast
Oh, yeah.
my bullet's going when it gets there. If it's standing still and I can shoot at it, I'm going to shoot at it.
yeah, oh yeah,
Obviously within the parameters of a season. Anyway, for all you guys out there that are saying that right now. So this is the other rifle that we're going to talk about today. And this is more or less the point of the conversation. Let me steal your
I figured
bipod
you'd want that.
because mine's buried in my gear somewhere. Oh, I don't have my adapter on here.
Oh,
Forget about it. I took my adapter off for my 7 mag.
should buy another adapter.
I should.
Too.
So the question that we got, that I guess we're just now getting to, is why Win Mag over Short Mag or vice versa? This is a 300 Win Mag.
Yep.
And the only difference between this rifle from the factory and yours is that this one is the super light, so it's got the fluted barrel.
Okay.
Everything else is created equal, that they're both T3Xs.
Did you do the?
I did, but that was after the fact.
Okay.
So from the factory, these
I
are
see what you
almost
mean. Yeah.
identical guns, except chambered in a different cartridge. And
Yours is a long action. Mine's a mid action
hold
from
them up
Tikka.
together.
Mine, I believe, is a mid length action from Tikka. So I don't believe it's quite, or maybe it is.
Yank your bolt real quick. 'Cause this is what I.
Maybe they are.
So they are the same length action.
Yeah. Okay. I thought they had like a mid length action, but maybe not. Or
So the question that we got was about Win Mag versus Short Mag, and why one over the other. And I was going back and forth with this fella about this topic because he was looking at a Tikka going one way or the other between Win Mag and Short Mag, and he's heard why you like your Short Mag so much, and he's heard me say why I am more partial to the Win Mag. So just real quick before we get into that topic, for reference, I have mentioned this before, but on this particular gun, I did put the aluminum bottom metal in it. I think we talked about that in the last episode with Matt.
I think so, yeah.
That got brought up. So this is the aluminum bottom metal from Mountain Tactical. You can see the trigger guard is slightly bigger, and it is aluminum. I did buy one of their aluminum magazines along with this order at the time, but it's got metal parts underneath instead of plastic, right? So your whole mag well assembly there, I guess that's what that's called, is aluminum here. So it's not plastic. So, a little stronger.
Should be a little stronger, yeah.
A little better. I haven't had any issues with running the stock Tikka mag, the little plastic one, in this bottom metal. It runs just fine. I use them interchangeably. It doesn't seem to make any difference.
Significant weight difference?
Yeah, I don't
a little
think so.
bit, not really.
They're pretty close. And I believe that they also make a 5-rounder in this as well.
I think even Tikka makes a 5-rounder.
Yeah, Tikka makes one. I think Mountain Tactical makes a 5-round aluminum one as well, but I think they were out of stock when I bought this because I bought this years ago, and I've... other thing I did, you were talking about that grip.
Yep.
You can see the difference there. This one is farther forward and kicks out more vertical. It's got a little bit of a palm swell to it. I don't know if you can see that with the black background there in the video. I did put a titanium bolt handle on this one. That's super easy to do. All you have to do is take off the bolt shroud, take the firing pin assembly out. Well, not even out. But you have to do a couple of things. There's a couple of YouTube videos on it. It's super easy, but just unlock it, disassemble it, pull the bolt handle out. It just slots in there, and then you just slot the new one in. But yeah, otherwise, almost the same thing. Just a couple of really cosmetic upgrades. I like the bigger bolt handle with this pineapple end just because it's easier to grab with gloves, I think. It's not a smooth, smaller finish.
I don't know. I kind
of
like the smaller one. I've used yours, and it's obviously a personal preference thing. But
I will say this about this bolt handle that I don't like is the fact that it's got these little knurls on it, and when this is hanging from a sling over the post of like my Barney's pack, and my arm is over here, over the gun, it tends to rub a spot and fray on the inside of your elbow of a jacket. So I've kind of worn holes in things like that before, but most of the time, guns in hand when you're hunting anyway, except wide open mountain type hunts.
Right.
But like deer hunting and bear hunting and things like that, I've got my gun in my hand a lot of the time, just out of habit. So, and then this is just a little cheek rise stock sleeve type of deal that I bought at Sportsman's. It's got a little zipper on here. I don't like the cartridge holders that just have the little elastic sleeve on the sides. I've lost too much ammo doing that. So I can keep a spare magazine in here and then a couple extra rounds in the stock itself so that it's on the gun all the time and I don't have to fish a mag out of a pack lid or a bino harness or anything like that. And then this is tally rings again. I like tally rings for Tikkas. I think they're great. And then this is the Leupold VX5 3-15 with the zero lock turret. I've had the scope on here for years and never had an issue with it. But this is the gun that I shot my moose with last year.
Yep.
I don't believe I've shot much else with this gun. I've taken it a lot of places, but I've taken it guiding a lot.
Okay.
In the interior, I tend to carry this one over a 375 just because it's a lot lighter and more fun to carry for weeks and weeks at a time than a 10-pound plus 375 is to carry. But it's a Win Mag.
Yep.
And that's kind of what we're here to talk about today anyway, in some form or another. So I guess just to kind of kick this off, you acquired the Short Mag from me. I had told you that I was looking to sell it because I didn't feel like I needed it anymore. I bought the Win Mag. I decided to go that route. You were looking for a new hunting rifle at the time, and you were already looking at a Tikka.
Yeah.
And so you ended up buying that one off of me.
Yeah. So I was going to buy a 7 mag.
Oh, that's right.
Because I had shot your Tikka 7 mag and it shot real well, and I was like,
half-inch all day.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was the first time I'd really ever shot a rifle I shot like 3 shots and they were all like the size of a dime, and I was like,
that gun did shoot exceptionally well.
It shot really well.
All jokes aside.
And I was really impressed with that. Like, well, that was really easy.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't kick like a 300 Win Mag.
Yeah.
It almost didn't even feel like it kicked like a 30-06.
No.
Which I don't
now
think
that
has a
one
bad
did
kick.
that one did have a big muzzle brake.
That's
on
true.
it.
That helped.
Was
that a muzzle brake or was it actually ported?
Yeah, it came with a muzzle brake.
Okay.
It was just really well machined and done to it.
Okay.
It was like I think it was 5 holes long. It was a big radial.
It looking kind of ported.
Yeah.
Instead of, but anyway, and so I was like, well, I want a 7 Rem Mag. That seems to be. And then I had called you and was talking to you about it, and you're like, well, I've got this 300 Short Mag. I'll sell it to you for a little bit less.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about it, and so I did. I mean, I had, at that point, I had a 30-06, an old Remington 770.
Mm-hmm.
Still got it. I think it's got a broken trigger guard. I think that which is permanently attached to the stock. You can't replace it like on this. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I should just get that gun out, clean it up. It just, it's still it was accurate. It's a cheap gun, but
2 inches all day.
I haven't shot that thing in so long. I should.
Is there even a scope on it right now?
I think I put that Redfield back on it.
Okay.
Because I had that. Because then I bought a Savage 110 from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And 300 Win Mag.
Mm-hmm.
That I had. I think I bought the Redfield from you. Like I said, back in the day, you were selling all kinds of stuff like that. So when I needed something,
that was an extra scope I didn't need.
Yeah. And he sold it to me for like, I don't know, $100 or something.
Yeah.
And
I had gotten it for free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it was. I really like Redfield for what they have.
Yeah.
And they're very nice stuff.
That was a fine scope.
Very good for their price. Like very valuable for their
Absolutely.
price and for what they do, and especially if you don't need something that dials.
Sure. That one had a little holdover reticle in it.
Yeah. Anyway, so I put that Redfield on there, and I bought the rifle at a garage sale with no mag. It was beat to pieces, but I paid like $180 for it.
That was that Savage 300 Win Mag.
Yeah, and I took it to. I got online, found a mag, bought that scope. All said and done, I had like $300 into it. We painted it, buffed it out and painted it. And honestly, it was really nice for being a $300 garage sale special.
Yeah.
I actually really liked it and shot it, and it was very accurate.
Yeah, shot well.
Which Savage is kind of known for that.
Yeah.
And then I took it on a hunting trip and rolled my wheeler with that rifle on it and bent the barrel, and now I've got I've got the action from that thing I want to do something with someday because it's cool. I think it's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's a weird model. But that's what gave me say, okay, I had a new hunting rifle.
Right.
I'd like to buy a new hunting rifle. I want something that's nicer than the old 30-06 770. And anyway, that's a long story. So I ended up with a 300 Short Mag, and it was kind of just because of that. It wasn't like a choice.
Mm-hmm.
It was that I didn't want something that kicked quite like a 300 Win.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted something that was, easy to shoot. And so like I knew Tikkas were the kind of the best bang for the buck. And so that's what I wanted to buy. And Anyway, that's kind of the reason I ended up with it. That's why. The reasons why I like it now and why I prefer it over a 300 Win Mag are a lot different and much more technical.
Yeah.
But,
so you kind of grew into liking it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, really, at that point, I was still just getting into ballistics and actual accuracy and doing more than looking at the numbers on a box before I went hunting. Yeah.
And so now that you've had it for a handful of years anyway, I mean, it's been
a lot now.
Yeah, it's been a while since you've had that gun and taken it on a lot of hunts. You've shot a lot of animals with it. What would you say if we were going to treat this as a discussion of you like it, what you have for these reasons, and then I like what I have for these reasons, just these two rifles in comparison? Defend the 300 Short Mag to me.
It's more efficient for reloading, and since I've gotten into reloading, I like it. You can do more with less powder with a lot of bullets than you can with a 300 Win Mag because it's more efficient, significantly so. So where you might need almost 70 grains of powder to get a bullet 100. Now it doesn't shoot as heavy a bullets as easy. But that's, if you want that, then you should be buying more like a 300 PRC, right? But it doesn't shoot as heavy bullets as easy as a 300 Win. But when it comes to its weight class, which is really like 150 to 180, right? And you can get some stuff that's closer to 200 depending on what you're buying, but from factory. But in its weight class of 150 or 140, even to 180, you can really push stuff really fast. Yeah. With, say, close to 60 grains of powder, you can get over 3,000 feet per second easily. And that same bullet in that rifle with close to 70 grains of powder, you're maybe not even still be able to push that, is what I've found, because we even tried to make some loads for that with the same bullet that I shoot, and we could not meet as easily with granted, and you're using different powders too.
Right,
I mean, it's because there's a lot of things that go into that. That wasn't
the ideal powder for the Win Mag, and we were experimenting using just regular old large rifle primers.
Were we?
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't use Magnum
but
rifle.
Overall, that is the case. It is easier to load faster because it's more efficient. It's not that new of a cartridge, but it shoots like the new cartridges, and it loads like the new cartridges. And in my rifle, this action is the same length as yours, but at least the back of it is. I think yours might be a little longer on the front there. I'm not sure in the chambering. Yeah. But so
probably the ejection port is a little bit longer.
Slightly. Yeah, that might be what I see. Slightly lighter. I don't. The biggest thing, honestly, there's nothing specifically about that I don't like. Yeah. Over the 300 Short Mag,
it exists within the.
And I've hunted with it a lot, and it's kind of a personal affection thing. Like I just like that. I like that rifle, and I like that round.
Right.
And
most of your preferences come from either just you're used to it, you like it, and then within reloading.
And within reloading, because you can't find ammo on the shelf for it.
Right.
Haven't been for a long time. Like, and when you do,
it appears here and there. Yeah. There's not much of it. It doesn't seem like
it is not what you shoot if it is. Usually, right. Like,
right.
So that and whereas with your rifle, I mean, the good defense for it is there's always usually ammo somewhere.
Right. So now I'll get up on my soapbox, and that's like my first point. When someone asks me, like when this couple of questions came out specifically about this topic, because I got several within the last couple of weeks about this. I was kind of surprised. I had never gotten questions about this before, but there were several people that Short Mag versus Win Mag, the 300. Why do you guys like different things? And that's always kind of what I lead off with is if it comes down to it and I have to shoot factory ammo, which I have only ever shot factory ammo hunting out of this rifle.
Right.
I just haven't really needed to reload for it. We will at some point work up a reload for it, and I'm sure it'll shoot fine. It'll do better now that I've gotten my hands on Magnum primers since a couple of years ago when I tried reloading for it with regular old large rifle primers. That'll make a difference. And at the time I didn't have the right powder. Now I have the right powder for it. So obviously with the right components available, that was just kind of a thrown together, hey, let's just see if this works and see what the velocity is.
Yeah.
And it did not live up to it. And it wasn't supposed to. It would have been fine to hunt with, but I just thought, I'm not going to waste the components trying to figure this out.
Right,
Let's just go hunting with factory ammo. When it comes right down to it, most places you can find 300 Win Mag on a shelf.
Yeah, and multiple options of it.
That's probably my main point for it. And then backed, a close second would be variety. Because you can go from a 150 grain bullet up to a 200 grain bullet, even within factory ammo.
Yeah.
For 300 Win Mag. So if you're just deer hunting and you want a soft, rapid expanding bullet, you can shoot like a 150 grain Federal soft point. I think they call that, well, I don't even want to get it wrong, but something like a Power Shock type bullet, or even like a Federal Fusion, which is their bonded bullet. Real popular. Easy to find. It's pretty inexpensive ammo. Yeah. You can shoot that. I shot my first moose with a 300 Win Mag with a 180 grain Federal Fusion. Did great. Cheap ammo, shoots well. Doesn't matter, right? So
I have something. I don't remember what it is, but I believe I have something that's 200 grains for that. That's factory.
Yes, so that would be the Hornady Precision Hunter.
Yeah, I believe that's
200 grain ELDX.
Yeah.
So that is, I believe that's the only 200 grain factory ammo that I've seen for the 300 Short Mag. Federal might load the 200 grain terminal ascent in it, but I don't know for sure. I'd have to look that up for it.
Because now they might.
Because they do load that for the 300 Win Mag, which is what I shot my moose with. We've already talked about that.
They probably load a lighter terminal ascent for it, though.
So they also have, I think it's 175 grain 30 caliber. Yeah. That would seem more likely, but that goes to what you said earlier. The Short Mag is less commonly loaded with heavier bullets in that 150 to 200 weight range. So the versatility, being able to find a lot of different weights of factory ammo, different flavors, different bullet options. You can shoot a flat-based lead tip bullet for deer hunting type stuff. And then you can get something like, again, a 200 grain Hornady Precision Hunter, 200 grain ELDX, that's going to race you out to a minimum expansion velocity ends somewhere far past I'm probably ever going to shoot hunting. I think that one lands closer to around 700 yards before it kind of runs out of steam. So you can kind of do whatever you want. And then there's Barnes, I think, makes 150s, 165s, 180s for it. So you have a lot of options.
Yeah.
And that's handy, especially in a Tikka rifle, because like you said before, both of these are several years old and have a 1 in 11 twist barrel. Win Mag, Short Mag, same twist barrel. 1 in 11 is a little bit slow.
Right.
Case in point, I think that's probably the reason why this gun, out of all the ammo I've shot through it ever for factory loads, the 165 grain Barnes TTSX shoots extremely good out of this gun.
That's the same bullet I shot out of that before I started reloading.
The 180s shoot plenty fine. The 190 LRX shoots a little bit worse, but still within,
it's just a little too heavy for a mono at that point.
It's getting a little bit long. The 200 grain Hornady ELDX, I have not shot out of this gun, but I did shoot that 200 grain terminal ascent. Seemed to shoot fine. I have not shot it at distance. I know we were talking about that last week with Matt. At distance, I'd be curious to see what that does in paper, if it's still shooting a clean hole through paper or cardboard at like 400 yards, and see if it's still stable. But that's kind of the Achilles heel, or was, of Tikka barrels before. They're a little bit slower twist rate, because most of the time, 300 Win Mags, 300 Short Mags, you'd find in a 1 in 10 twist. So you could easily shoot 200 grain bullets most of the time anyway. But nowadays, Tikka is making their rifles with the 30 cals. Win Mags, Short Mags are standard 1 in 10 twist now. So you're probably a little bit better off if you wanted to shoot those heavier for caliber bullets.
Right.
So I like the variety. I know it does take a little bit more powder. than the short mag does. I understand that. And likely coming from the perspective of the fact that we haven't really tried to reload for this yet.
No, we haven't.
I haven't developed a bias for needing to use more powder in this and having a dislike for that.
I think it's more efficient with heavier bullets.
Yeah.
The problem is you've got a 1 in 11 twist.
Right.
Right. It's more efficient than the short mag is with heavier bullets.
Right.
Although almost any load data that I've looked at comparing the two with the same bullet, it takes more powder to push the same bullet at the same speed.
Yeah.
Reloading, right? And is that really a big deal? No, it's just one of those things.
Generally, you're talking about what the difference in
I don't
in powder
remember,
charge.
5 to 10 grains, I think.
Yeah.
Which is significant, but it's not always that much. And it's been a long time since I've looked at those numbers, but I do remember comparing that when we were talking about reloading for this. I don't know. It's kind of like you and your 7 mag.
Yeah.
It's your favorite gun. It's your favorite cartridge.
At
least it was for a long time.
Yeah, it was for a long time. Yeah.
Well, and I'm looking at a $3,000 rifle now that I would like to buy at some point, and I'm pretty set on it, unless I find something better in that same cartridge.
You talking about the Oh, I know what you're talking about.
The one I sent you a few weeks ago, yeah.
With the folding.
Yeah, I really like the idea of a folding stock
on
a light rifle.
Yep.
I think it's a great
That's the new
idea.
Seekins one, right?
Yeah, it's the Element something. Okay. It's the Element Hunter.
It's got the folding stock.
It's got a folding stock. It's 5.5 pounds.
Is that a carbon barrel on that one?
Carbon barrel with a brake. Okay. Threaded with a brake. It's 5.5 pounds.
Back to that again.
And they make it in 277 Fury. Like, that's what I wanted. And the only previously for that type of setup, the only option available was the 6-hour cross, which I think is a great rifle, but it's a little bit heavier. Yep. And I just don't think it's as well designed of a hunting rifle as that Seekins is going to be, or as clean and finish.
Right.
Granted, the price difference is significant.
Right.
I think the cross is like $1,900. Okay. The Seekins is $32.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little swallow there, yeah. Which is actually one of the most expensive rifles that Seekins offers in their new line.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, and there's a lot more expense, I would imagine, in having a folding stock.
I think it's the folding stock, and their thing about that rifle is that they say is like it is a hunting contour made for hunters with a folding stock. This is not a tactical drop in that we're adapting for hunting.
Right.
Which is kind of more what the cross is.
Yeah.
Right? The cross is that full M-lock rail and everything, which you're never going to need. Right? The new Seekins just has an M-lock on the bottom, which is all you're ever going to need in a hunting rifle.
Yeah.
You don't need any side attachments or anything.
Right.
You're not trying to make a heavy rifle. You're just trying to throw on an adapter for a bipod and maybe a grip if you want something a little bit extra to hang on to up there. But,
sure.
Or an Arca rail or whatever. But it gives you the option to put whatever you want on there and take it off. Which is what I like about the Arca on the bottom of the stock down there. But
that's something that I have looked into at times is that that Hunt 26 folding stock.
Okay, I don't think I've looked at that.
Why am I spacing out on the name?
Maybe I have.
I've
looked at several. There's MDT has the one.
Yes, MDT. It's the Hunt 26 chassis, and that their Weatherby makes. The 307 Alpine uses that MDT Hunt 26 chassis folding stock. And I've seen those guns. I've handled them. It's a nice stock. It seems like one of the better just throw it together and screw it together and you're done.
Right.
Type of an option. And it's nice. It's slimlined. It seems like a good option. And I've seen an increasing number of those, it seems like, around the hunting world.
Okay, yeah.
And so I've considered that as a stock upgrade, if we can call it that, for this. But there are a few things about a folding stock that keep me held back from that. So I just haven't changed from the factory stock yet.
So what I like the idea with the folding stock, and it specifically comes into a rifle with a shorter barrel, then you're really getting the advantage of it. Sure, with a longer barrel, you could shorten it up and stick it in your pack and it's more out of the way, or strap it to your pack where it's more out of the way. But when you're in the Alpine and you can see, and you don't need a rifle immediately, especially if you're paying attention, right?
Yeah.
and you might have your rifle strapped to your pack more, which is what I ended up doing on my solo hunt because I just couldn't get it to stay anywhere with my leather thing, with my leather sling, and I finally ended up strapping it to the pack so it stopped falling off my shoulder.
Yep.
And swinging around underneath and everything else it was doing, and I just got tired of it, so I strapped it in, and that was that for the rest of the hunt.
Yeah.
But especially once I got out of the brush, but with a folding stock, it's out of the way. You strap it to your pack, and then it's out of the way.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a million different ways for quick detach when something's strapped to the pack, and I might look into something like that.
Yeah.
But I really like that idea, especially if it's 5.5 pounds, depending on what kind of glass you put on there. That's another pound. 6.5 pounds. That's pretty light, and it's small. I mean, that rifle has a 20-inch barrel, so you know you're not long. You're really small.
Right.
You can put that in your backpack if you need to. Yeah. Right. I don't know. It just gotta have it.
Yeah.
Just gotta have it. Yeah.
It looks like a nice rifle. Anyway, back to the conversation at hand.
Yeah.
So, Win Mag versus Short Mag, ballistically,
they're almost the same.
Real close.
Yeah. Aside from the way this one shoots this bullet a little better, which there's a little difference. But really, if we went and bought the same factory bullet, we'd be practically shooting the same gun.
And that's a good example because both of us have shot these guns hunting together. And at one point, I asked you what you were shooting out of that gun, and you said, well, the Barnes was 165 grain TTSXs. And I said, really? That's the same thing I'm shooting.
Yeah.
It's the same bullet, and it's going just about the same speed.
Yeah, I believe so. I haven't looked at those factory numbers in a long time.
And for all intents and purposes, let's be honest here. It's very rare for us to ever shoot over a couple hundred yards anyway.
Yeah.
Let alone over 500. 500 and in, 150 feet a second doesn't make that much of a difference, if any, on animals. As long as you put the shot where it needs to go, either one of these is going to do the job equally as well. So you're not really gaining anything one way or the other. The differences are more present in a different manufacturer that would offer Win Mag or Short Mag. Yeah. If you had a rifle that was a true short act, then you'd shave a little bit of weight off of the action.
Yeah, and
versus
I think
a Win Mag having a long action.
Action on mine is a little shorter overall. As in the ejection port.
Yeah.
And so you we didn't hold the rifles up side by side to show that.
Yeah.
But so that does make the weight slightly, not a lot, but slightly less on my Tikka. I think they consider it a mid-length. I remember looking it up one time. It's just a little shorter mag.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that I do know, I guess. I think that if you're looking at buying a 300 Short Mag or 300 Win Mag in this particular rifle, or almost in any rifle that, where you're comparing, it's apples to apples.
Yeah.
Except for what's available on the shelf for ammo. And if you like to reload and you're really into it, then I would say get the 300 Short Mag. It's a fun gun to reload for. And it does amazing with the Hornady Superformance powder. That powder just works in that rifle. There's other things. There's other powders you can work with in 300 Short Mag that's make it maybe a little bit more versatile to load for. But the Superformance powder has been available for the most part. You can find it.
It's not crazy expensive.
Right. It's not stupid expensive. And it works really, really well for that rifle. It gives it its edge in reloading. And there's other, like I think Stayball 6.5 maybe is similar. I haven't shot it because I haven't needed to. But
another thing too is recoil. That's another question that we got kind of in relation to this.
That's true.
Is there a difference in recoil? And I think there is.
There is. Yeah.
I think the Short Mag shoots softer. These guns compared, having shot both of them, I think the Short Mag is a little bit nicer to shoot.
Yeah.
Now, part of that probably has to do with a little bit of the fact that this gun is a fluted barrel, so it might be a little bit more jumpy, perhaps. But I think just overall,
I think case design is the biggest.
Yeah, and the fact you're burning a little bit less powder. Yeah. Case design a little bit different. It just shoots a little bit softer on the shoulder than the Win Mag does. And these guns weigh almost the exact same.
Right.
So, recoil, advantage short mag. Reloading capability within 180 grains and down, let's say, advantage short mag. Ammo availability and overall versatility.
Do you need like a chart on the screen here?
No. Advantage Win Mag. Another thing that got brought up in that line of questioning from our listeners was feeding. So one of the things that I had heard years before I ever owned that short mag was that the short mag cases had a reputation for feeding issues because they have a sharper shoulder on them. And I don't remember exactly what the degree of the shoulder is on one compared to the other.
It's a lot. We don't have anything to compare here at the moment. But
you didn't bring any ammo.
I meant to, and I didn't grab it.
So that's something that to be considered as well. But we haven't seen that in these guns.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason why is that Tikkas have a vertical stacked magazine to feed from. If you had a belly mag where it's staggered and one is fed from one side or the other, apparently, and I having not owned a 300 short mag or a 270 short mag or any of the other short mags, in a belly mag gun with a hinged floor plate, which is very common, having not owned one, I can't tell you from personal experience if that happens, but I have heard and read that some guns have a little bit harder time feeding the short mag cases because of that steeper shoulder angle. They'll bind up before they jump up on the feed ramp to go to the chamber. So that's something that I would just do some background research into before you buy a rifle in that 300 short mag or 270 or 325 short mag. Any of those short mags all use the same basic case design. There. The 325. Yeah. I agree. I wish that one hadn't died.
I mean, it's still kind of out there.
It's just barely a heartbeat.
Yeah. You know what I think is even better?
While you're saying that, I'm going to look up the shoulder degrees.
Not to get off on too much of a tangent here, but I did a bunch of research on this at one point. I just wanted to look into 8 mils. American 8 mils specifically, because most of the European 8 mils are anemic in speed. And that is the 8mm Rem mag.
Yeah.
Which didn't take off like the 7 Rem mag did.
Right.
Right. A lot of people haven't even heard of it. But I believe it shoots faster than the 325 Wisdom, Winchester Short Mag. And from what I understand, it kicks like a bear. But it's going to be the best speed you're going to get out of a factory 325 or 8 mil if you can find one. And I don't know. I think 8 mil is a untapped capability of ballistic capability in the American market.
Interesting.
Because the bigger you go in diameter in a bullet, here's the dive into the weeds. The bigger you go in a diameter of the bullet, as long as you comparably increase weight, the better your BC overall. That's why a big, like a 50 cal, you can make such a high, or even a 458, like the 458 Shytac or 375 Shytac. You can do these high monolithic bullet or high weight monolithic bullets that if you can shoot them fast enough, their BC is incredible, a 1.1 or something. And that's because the bigger the airflow, I don't understand all the math behind it, but the bigger you go while staying comparable with weight and going up with weight as you go with size and diameter, it seems that your BC gets better, especially in monolithics.
Right.
And so 8 mil has an edge in Met Plat and in BC in over a 30 cal because it's a little bit bigger. And and so you could shoot, if you had the right cartridge, you could shoot a bullet faster, and you're smaller than a 338, bigger than a 300.
Right.
And I think if the right company came out with the right cartridge at the right time, it'd have to be Hornady or something.
Right.
But and I don't even know that anybody would.
Federal's going to make one in a steel case now.
Yeah, right. But I think it would be really cool. I talked to you about this, and I might still at some point do this, like make my own Wildcat.
Yeah.
In an 8mm, just because, it would be a cool thing to do.
I'm sure there's guys doing it.
It's not very common. Very, very rare.
Just for a lack of projectiles that are high BC and efficient in 8mm.
Hammer makes plenty.
Do they?
Of 8mm stuff, yeah.
Which, by the way, Hammer has a new line of bullets releasing.
When? I've
now.
been seeing something about that, but I haven't really kept up with. Okay, what is it?
It's a high ballistic coefficient.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah. So is it just
requires a little more?
Is it a little more shape?
Yep, a little more figure to it.
Yeah,
a little more slippery. But it's meant to be a high BC improvement over the HHT line, which is just their traditional.
So is it still a tip to them?
Yep.
Cool.
Pink tip.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Steve was talking about it on Valentine's Day.
Nice. Well, I'm gonna have to
bullets for your Valentine.
Might have to change up my load.
He said it requires a little more of a touch for reloading.
Yeah.
Loads a little bit differently, similar to something like the Absolute hammers.
Interesting. Well,
anyway,
I'll have to see what they're available in. And
little side tangent there for one of our partners, Hammer Bullets.
What I need to load that in.
Yeah.
But yeah, since we've been working with Hammer, we've had a relationship with him for a while now. I've only shot hammers. I haven't shot anything factory. I've had the time and the capability and the resources to reload, and that's what I've done.
Yep.
And I get a kick out of it. And
no pun intended.
Right, yeah.
Less of a kick with the 300 Short Magnum 300 Win Mag.
Correct. Yeah.
I did find the shoulder angle. It's 25 degrees on the Win Mag and 35 on the Short Mag.
Yeah. Significant.
So, yeah. A little difference there.
Well, and it's shorter and fatter, and yeah. Mm-hmm. And is it slightly rebated?
I don't believe so.
No? Okay. I couldn't remember. I don't know. But anyway. But yeah, I know the whole thing with 8mm was a tangent. I jumped, or a rabbit hole I jumped down for a while.
Yeah.
Reading and
I remember you
staying up late night thinking about it. You know how it goes. You're like,
yeah.
Oh, what if? And so you're back on your phone. And my wife's like, go to bed. You've got to go to work in the morning.
I am in bed.
Right, yeah. Go to sleep.
Can you turn your brightness down?
So yeah, my wife is, it's not good to look at a blue screen before you go to bed. I wake up at 2 a.m. and she can't sleep because the baby's crying and she's on her phone like this. It's great. It's great. I told her I was going to take a picture of her and post it. Make a meme.
Boy. So from the feeding perspective, there is a difference there.
There is a little difference. I've never had an issue with this rifle.
I like I said, I believe that is because it's a vertical stack magazine.
Now, I've almost only shot monolithics.
Well,
which are longer.
Yeah.
And so you might see some difference. I've never really shot any short not fat, but shorter.
Yeah.
So maybe if there'd be a quicker, a faster kick up before it goes into starts to go into the chamber. I don't know. I've never had any issue at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm probably convinced that that's the main reason why we've never had any issues with it, because of the magazine design of the Tikkas.
Probably.
If you had a staggered magazine, I could definitely see where that would play a factor. Case in point, the difference between how a 375 Ruger loads from a staggered magazine hinged floor plate versus a 375 H&H, which just looks like a long pencil. There's hardly any neck to the thing, right? It's just a long taper with a little bit of a neck to it. The difference there, you can tell feeding with a brand new Ruger rifle. The feeding is a little bit more of a push to get that cartridge to jump up there, because there's a little more of a shoulder. It's nothing like a 300 Short Mag. It's shorter and more round, but it's there.
Right. Well, and it's that new spring tension on that.
Yeah. So the break-in, if you can call it that, right? A lot of guys with those Ruger rifles will put some kind of a honing compound in there and then just run the action a lot. And they'll just chamber rounds like dummy rounds, and they'll just chamber rounds hundreds of times and just, sit there, watch TV, and just run your action and just kind of break it in, make it smooth. So But the difference with that and then something like a 375 H&H in, say, a Model 70 action, which is very, very similar, that case of the H&H just feeds so much nicer because there's no shoulder to get stuck on. So there are some differences to be had there. If you have a staggered magazine with a 300 short mag, you have the potential to have that issue.
Right.
If you're looking at buying a short mag of any flavor, really, 270, 300, or 325, do some research on the rifle model and that action in particular and see if there have been feeding issues with that. And it might not be that big of a deal to just buy it anyway and then take it to a gunsmith and have them buff something out or change something. It might not be a deal breaker for the rifle, right? Because otherwise it might be a good setup. But I think the Tikka magazines all but eliminate that problem, having them all come up in a straight line. So we haven't encountered that issue. So if you're looking at a Tikka short mag versus Win mag, that really, if it was me, it wouldn't even be on my radar with the Tikka.
Yeah.
Shortcomings. Talk about what you don't like about the short mag.
Well,
can you think of anything?
Ammo availability is what we talked about the most. Honestly, there's not really anything else that, in a direct comparison, aside from the reloading aspect, which is really
pretty close.
They're very, very, like we said, if we both had the same factory loaded ammo, you'd hardly be able to tell you were shooting a different gun, except for maybe the kick.
Right.
A little bit, right?
Right.
I can't say I've really run into anything.
Yeah.
Like, except for ammo availability, which has been 3-4 years now, where you really, there was a couple years where I didn't see any on the shelf for several years, for 2 or 3 years.
Right. And then when it did show up, it was a lot of money.
Or not something I shot or was interested in owning. Right. Like, and I've bought ammo used off people that, like, I had one coworker who bought a bunch of ammo. He'd go to the store and buy 300 Win Mag ammo.
Yeah.
He said he didn't realize there was a cartridge called 300 Winchester Short Mag. And so he bought like 4 boxes. Of course, 4 different boxes.
Yeah.
Of 300 Winchester Short Mag for his 300 Win Mag. Which I don't know if he tried to load one day or got looking at it and realized they were different. And so he sold them to me for like $20 a box. I don't know if any of it's ammo I'll ever shoot, but it's on the shelf for a rainy day.
Yeah. So if you go to Midway USA, just talk about ammo real quick. If you type in 300 short mag ammo, there's 42 results. If we try Win Mag, just to kind of demonstrate the difference.
Yep.
300 Win Mag ammo. 160.
That's a few.
Yeah.
Yeah. Win Mag is a more versatile cartridge.
Yeah.
When it comes to bullet weight.
More companies load ammo for it.
Yeah.
It's easier to find brass for, generally.
Yeah.
So there's another advantage in the other way in the reloading department for the Win Mag.
Short Mag, I haven't really had an issue finding brass for. Sure, it's not as easy as a Win Mag.
Sure.
But it's common enough. Yeah. Like, you don't realize how common a short mag is until you get one, and then you talk to people about it. Like, oh yeah, I shoot a short mag, and it's out there more than I think a lot of people realize. Yeah, it's just not as widely known.
It seems like the 300 short mag is by far and away very much alive.
Yeah,
especially in the reloading world.
Yeah, I think and the 270.
Yeah,
maybe not as much.
I haven't seen as much 270 short mag talked about.
Yeah,
like
not as much, but.
Right.
But in the same way you see the 270 itself talked about, it's still, like, the 270 itself isn't as popular as it used to be.
Right.
But it's still out there.
Yeah.
And it's not,
Right. The original intent of the Winchester Short Magnums was to provide the same performance as the Win Mag series, but in a short action.
Yeah. With
the 270, with the 300, and then the 325 Short Mag was... I don't know what they were trying to compete with, but
the 8mm Rem Mag, which I believe came out around a similar time. I believe
90s, 2000s.
I believe they were very similar timing periods.
The 8mm Rem Mag was that recent.
I believe so. Like I said, it's been a long time since I did the research on that.
I thought it was farther back, but anyway, so that was the original idea of the Winchester Short Mag series. I think they accomplished it with the 300 Winchester Short Mag. Excuse me. Real world situations, There's 1978 for the 8mm mag.
So it is.
So, yeah, a little bit farther back there. I think the short mags were... I'm just curious. Sorry for the delay in audio, folks, but we're looking on the
As long
screen.
as we make noise, they're listening, right?
Mouth breathers.
2005. So I don't know if they were just trying to trying to see if the market had a
Oh, you know what? It might be a rebated rim.
like I said, I think the Wisdoms are slightly rebated. I believe I remember looking that up at one point.
Yeah, sure enough.
Yeah, and the 01 is when the 300 came out. And isn't there a WSSM too?
Yeah, the super short magnums.
Yeah,
I know I've seen like
those aren't as popular, but you do see them around.
223, 243, I think. Yeah, there was some little tiny ones. Seen some great memes with those cartridges. You've seen them too.
Yeah. Well, I've seen them in reloading manuals more than anything.
I think the super short magnums were...
They were also rebated.
223 is there.
223, 243. So
The-
maybe it was
the
just
25.
Okay.
Oh, really? They had a 25.
See, that one might be cool. I think that's the one maybe I've seen the most.
Ah.
Oh, look. It's
243.
I says I've clicked on that link before.
So
there's a rabbit hole.
yeah, that's a little bit of a rabbit hole. We should probably stay on topic and keep this for another time.
Probably.
So in the real world, if you're shooting 500 yards or less, the moral of the story is if you can find the ammo or if you want to reload for the short mag, you have some advantages there. A little bit less recoil, slightly more efficient. If you want something that you can just go to the store and buy quality factory ammo for,
Yeah.
and you don't mind a touch more recoil, but it's available, then go with a Win Mag.
Yeah.
I think they'll both kill just the same.
And hey, there's going to be
doesn't
people
even
listening
matter.
to this that say, "Oh, I reload for a Win Mag, and it's just as capable reloading." And
Oh, yeah.
it has its. I really believe its advantage. It comes with the heavier 180 to 200 grain bullets
Absolutely.
in the reloading world.
Absolutely.
I haven't loaded a lot for it, but overall, it does seem that the short mag is a more reloadable cartridge for the lighter weight bullets.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. We live in America, and if
We
you
have
want,
way too many options.
if you want your 30 caliber to be a short action, then it can be a short action. And if you
Yeah.
want it to be a long action, then it can be.
It can be. And if you really want to jump down the weeds, look up the 30 Sherman mag,
Yeah.
which is, existed before the 300 PRC, but is essentially the same thing, but a little better. There's a lot of 30 calibers available.
Yeah. Well, this has been fun.
It has been.
Nice little quick discussion about this. We hadn't really talked about too many listener questions, but this one kept getting brought up. So we like Tikkas.
We do.
There, we said it. And admittedly, if I could only walk into the store and buy one gun and I had $1,000 or less, I wouldn't pick anything else.
Yeah.
Even if I had $1,500 or less, I probably wouldn't pick anything else.
Depends on what's on the shelf.
Because there are so
yeah.
many options for it aftermarket. You can buy the other grip for it. You can buy new bolt handle, aluminum bottom metal, new
Yeah,
magazines,
and plenty of people make stocks for them.
bolt handles. Yeah, there's a lot of aftermarket stocks for them available now, so you can kind of buy the gun now and you get the action in the barrel. You
Yep.
get the important part. That's quality. And Tikka is owned by Seiko or Sako, if you hold your pinky out when you drink your Frappuccino in the morning. But it's made from a quality company, right? These are reliable and proven, field-tested, proven rifles. You're not, I shouldn't say you're not, but you're almost guaranteed that you're not going to get a lemon.
Yeah.
So it's a guarantee that you're going to get a rifle that shoots decent, well enough for hunting by far, and that you can add things to as you have the budget for it down the
Right.
road. You can change the stock, you can buy different parts for it, and it's just going to shoot. So I guess there's our Tikka commercial for the week.
Yeah. Well, and since we dogged on Peak 44 so much at the beginning,
Peak 44 does now make a Tikka stock.
they make a Tikka stock, and what is that one? Is it the Blacktooth?
I don't remember which one it is.
They make one of their
I
guns
haven't
is
looked at
a
it yet.
is a slap and I don't remember the
plug and play
stock for the Tikka.
Yeah.
And it's supposedly really nice.
Yeah.
So, but
I'm
you know,
sure
then
it
you're,
is.
what is it, like $800, right? Like
Yeah.
probably or more.
And that Mesa Precision altitude stock that I was talking about before, that's
Okay.
also an aftermarket Tikka stock option, that's about the same price. I've heard good things about that one. I don't know that I've heard too much about the new Peak 44 stock yet, but I'm sure it's fine.
Well, anything we've seen from the Peak 44 stocks,
Yeah.
we've liked it
Yeah.
for the most part.
And I know that we, had our little jokes about Peak 44 tripods earlier, but in all reality, they make a quality product.
Yeah.
And I'm sure their stock is just fine. I have that Weatherby rifle, that Mark V, with a carbon fiber Peak 44 stock, and it's nice.
Yep.
They're well made, good finish, seems strong. I've beat it up. It's just fine. So that would be a good option as well. But that just goes to the point of the aftermarket options for a Tikka rifle these days.
Pretty wide.
Lot
And
of
becoming
options out
wider.
there.
And Tikka is making a lot more
Yeah.
options themselves. A lot more options off the shelf.
Yep.
I think I heard that all their barrels are going to be threaded from the factory from now on.
I was just about to ask you if we mentioned that in the last episode or not.
I don't
couldn't
remember. Maybe. Well,
Yeah.
we said it now.
Yeah, we said it now. Yep, they are.
Which is a big deal. I mean, because more and more companies are doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Because brakes are becoming more popular and suppressors are becoming more popular. And let's get rid of the NFA.
Defund the NFA.
Well, it just needs to be removed. But
The ATF should be a beach club in Florida.
I've heard the ATF should be is a good name for a convenience store.
Yeah. Well, folks, if you have other questions along these lines or a totally different topic, we've been getting more and more questions recently as our audience has grown. We appreciate you guys following us along and listening. We haven't said this in a couple of weeks, so if you do enjoy the Great Alaska Hunting Podcast, please, on whatever platform you're listening to us on, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, leave us a 5-star rating
please. Yep.
and a friendly review on there. We'd appreciate it. That is the only way that we ask our listeners to support our show and our content, what we're doing here. And for those of you that are listening on audio, you can also find us on YouTube, where you can see us live in the flesh. Well, not live, but you can see our ugly mugs and
Yep.
watch us show a few display items here and there, like we had the rifles
Yep.
in the office today. Last week with Matt Size talking about his draw sheep hunt where he killed his beautiful ram. We had the ram sitting on the desk as well, and had a few photos on the YouTube video as well.
Yeah.
And that's also available on Spotify for the video option on
It
there.
is.
So
Usually the video on Spotify comes out about a day later.
okay.
The audio version releases on Monday, but it's with the way all the systems work, and I wish it all worked together better, but
Yeah.
what do you do?
Is what it is. But if you like the show, we'd appreciate your support, and we thank you guys for listening. If you enjoy it, share it with a friend. And happy March. We
Yeah.
made it.
There you have it.
We're out of February.
Oh yeah, when this comes out, aren't we? Boy,
Yep.
Boy, that went by fast.
So there we go. There's the
Tikkas.
There's a thumbnail. Well, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. We hope you enjoy the show. And with that, we're going to conclude this week's episode. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time.